To be young and old and dead and alive and riding in the Flying Dutchman of the plains. Rhythm of my eyes, black spots in a yellow day, rust smelling up the back bunk, dry your pants, roll down the ramp, signs move faster than your face. Oh, to be as free as a butterfly, having already eaten all you were ever fated to eat in the life before. To wait until the long lines of traffic get so perfectly linear that something alarming must be done. To completely forget yourself when some glare from outside bursts upon you instantly. To be so forgotten that most people would be completely sure you never were. Oh, to feel the rugged tires bounce upon the roads, from here to there and there to here. The windshield keeps everything quiet inside. Thank God the stations of AM radio curl their fingers around the hills and make music and static dance even in the most remote places. Where did the land go when they etched a road in its place? Where did the trees and rocks and animals go when they had to move them to make the road? Where do the cars go after they fall off every road? What happens to the accidents after they've happened? What makes the traffic keep coming despite horrible headlines, death, murder, annihilation, traffic tickets, hopelessness, and drudgery? What happens to the safety belts after they won't fasten anymore? What happens to the car radio when it's out of shot of every station? What happens to you after you've driven away? Oh, to know the speed of blood rushing in, receding, spilling in, flooding out. For the toes to bud from the foot, the legs to bend, the arms to grow longer, growing a reach, the hand to clutch and hold and release and build. For the blood to course through the mind and build new strong thoughts, to reveal the light in the darkness and the darkness in the light, to foresee the castles that never could be lived in or admired from a physical distance, to fix form on a tongue and build bridges by turning the other way, to shape fingers like colored rolls of clay, to find out by touching and tapping and nudging, for the blood to pound open a hole in the ears to draw the sounds around closed doors and thick walls, to unbury the noises wherever they are and to hear the music that nobody before has ever named, to take in more space with longer strides that grow longer yet and will never go back, to feel a dizzy future outside your ears, outside the car doors and the horizons that come and go so quickly, to imagine with the force of a hurricane, to see and remember like a tornado. It is like being a road, but the road crews never stop working. There's always something that must be expanded, something to be widened, something to take away, and something that must be replaced. The skin is forced to stretch like a rubber band while new space is invaded within by growing bones. Larger stretches are manufactured just below the skin, and these crews never stop working. Crews work night and day on the face, rearranging the features, deflating the baby characteristics from the nose, the ears, the cheeks, the chin. It's a wonder that he doesn't have to put his hands over his ears to keep the sounds of all this work from driving him crazy. Accidents will happen. Accidents do happen. Accidents keep happening. Flames move like ghosts. They come and go. First they're there and then they've moved elsewhere. The flames reach up and down, they go in and out. You can look right through them, but they're too hot to actually pass through. The sounds come loud and suddenly, different kinds of hits, different kinds of rips. Sounds that accelerate, that surprise you to the point of dizziness. The sounds come slow and deep, they come fast and shattering. They carry over the landscape, they attack you as hideous. They come and go, they disappear much faster than the sight of the wreckage does. The night is so crazy you don't even know what you see. When an accident happens, sight slows down. One image piles onto another as if time itself were just another victim of the collision. The road is slow, and then it is very fast. In the distance, a semi-truck looks small and insignificant. Up close it looks big and powerful. It seems to dominate the road with its length and its width. It powers itself with deep grunts that shake the road, but the road isn't shaking with fear. A semi passes through the night, holding the road under its wheels, holding the night back with the white scowl of its headlights. The semi has so many huge wheels with thick black tires, all of them moving so fast. A cargo weighs down the long trailer. The semi pushes down, threatening to burrow into the road with its weight as it makes its way forward, but the road doesn't let this happen. It pushes back and pushes up. The huge tires turn, and with every turn they slap the road. Black tires smash down the black road in the middle of the black night. The road takes the punishment, knowing that its time will come someday. A semi splits through, confident of its size and strength. Its engine burns and thick smoke rises out of the stack behind the cab. The driver sits inside and seems so small behind the huge steering wheel. If his head fell off, it would fall in between the spokes of the steering wheel and down to the pedals. He has a big butt to keep himself sitting. He watches the road. and knows how to make this huge truck follow his thoughts and go exactly to what he's looking at. Whispering is not enough to stop a semi-truck. Neither can a kiss or a nudge or a smile. Not even the pole that holds up a stop sign. Nothing except brakes, and sometimes they won't even do the trick. A semi is too big to fit in a hole. It is too big for a paperweight and too heavy to lend a hand to. It is too massive to accept an offer, too solid for an afternoon stroll, too nasty for a question and answer. A semi is loud and leaves behind sharp smells. It pulls commerce through the night. It cracks the roads. You can give one person the keys to drive in exchange for a paycheck. It is a responsibility. It is big. The night is black and silent. Suddenly it becomes white and hot and sizzling. The snow, still holding tight onto the earth in drifts, darts roiling like the crazy ocean. The drifts of snow turn into waves, spuming into the air, shooting up particles into the night. The earth itself rocks like the shaking sea. A wind shows up and is to come from somewhere. Bright flashes make the horizon grin, and the Flying Dutchman of the plains rides on a long, pale scream. Sparks fly from the sides of the ghost Winnebago. Winds shoot out in all directions from its hubcaps. Its wheels turn like flame. It lights up the highway like a 1,000,000-watt light bulb. A semi-truck is nothing compared to this, whether it is carrying tons of useless gizmos or medical supplies ready to save the day. A semi gets dirty and its wheels flatten pop cans and other things left on the road. A semi is cold and silent, a ship on an unbelievably calm sea. The road isn't calm tonight. It is a dangerous ocean. There is much more room below than there is above tonight. The ground is waiting to open its trap door and show a semi-truck how porous it actually is. So much of what you believe to be completely solid is completely empty. Now that you know this, you must realize how serious this is. The solid land turns into the stormy sea. The drifts of snow turn into spitting waves, and the solid road turns into a swaying, bending bridge floating as if above an endlessly deep gorge. You have as far to fall below as you do above. A semi-truck can toss and turn like your body shakes from a nightmare. A driver can be blinded by the sight of ghosts huddling in a brilliantly glowing Winnebago. He can turn the wheel the wrong way and end up somewhere he doesn't want to be. The world can welcome him gently, or it can get fed up and hate him and drop him. A huge truck can spin through space like a fly trying to find a place to land. The jolt of the fall can be serious enough to shake all of its wheels off. All of the cargo can slip out of its big rectangular box and hang in the air like new stars. A flame can catch and keep on going. Is it about crashing or is it about burning? Can you be sure you saw it? Can the sight of something draw you so off course? What was it? Could it have been so bright? Static ground has shifted gears and become a tempest. If you wait long enough in front of your TV, you might see it in the news report. The same goes for the windshield of your vehicle. The tree says, "I am tall and wide and round. I have been here many years and slowly know everything there is to know about this spot. I have rings of age to prove it. I am something huge and ancient, and my body changes with the season. I am responsible for the welfare of many other kinds of plant and animal life, some of which take much away from me and leave me exhausted. If I am exhausted, my roots grab tighter onto the earth that holds me up. I drink, I grow, I hold tight. I know much of what there is to know." A semi-truck carrying a load of toilet paper veers off course and knocks into the tree. The truck grabs the shape of the tree and its grill, like a baseball mitt catches a ball. The force of the collision cracks the tree to death. The driver's face scatters in the collision, the tree, the night, and the wind. The wind blows the whole earth into commotion, as if it were a boiling soup. A ghost Winnebago called the Flying Dutchman of the Plains keeps frightening the sideburns off all the roads. Fat Swaller can sing and the bells can ring. In the towns and cities, people dance and sleep and work their lives away. There is money to be made and necessities to be bought. The economy moves on wheels made out of a rubber that isn't really. The streets and roads are jammed with consumers. Land must be cleared to make way for more parking. Out in nowhere, somewhere between producer and consumer, and far removed from either, a semi-truck loaded with toilet paper explodes and burns the night away. The ghosts who drive the vehicle of bad luck gather around the fire and dance the dance that only they know. The music that is made to incite such dancing is so strange it cannot be catalogued. Most of the sound comes from Fleek and Flake, who subvert the very notions of sound and noise and music with a caterwauling that only they know how to do, that only their dead bodies have all the small puncture holes needed to produce such a tone. Somewhere inside their ghost ship is a young human, Johnny Primate, growing up, who huddles and shivers even though he's not cold. The fire is making so much heat just being a fire. Johnny has to put up with this, and he can't seem to get used to it. His eyes can never trace the steps the dead people make when they dance. The more he grows, the less he understands why all these accidents happen and why they all have to be so fatal. He shivers and tries to wrap himself up with himself. Which moves fastest? The sunlight, the earth, or the Flying Dutchman of the plains, which moves so fast because of the intense power it derives from the energy locked between life and death? Which has greater control over what happens on the roads of humankind? Which has the greater power over the night and over which accidents will happen? Which spins the most and which is the least there, actually? The sun moves across the land like a curtain opening for the next act of a play. The highways are sparsely populated. If a highway patrolman would go after this specific Winnebago, he will have met his match. Peter Mouse gets no tickets because he drives the fastest and the fewest. Even the sunlight can't tell where this specific vehicle will be next. A highway keeps its number, the days lose theirs, wheels turn, tires wear down and have to be replaced, but not ghost tires. Which is actually moving, the world they drive by, or them, or both? The world turns, so do the wheels. The world moves on the black road of space. The world moves the roads on it which move the wheels and vehicles on them. Everything is moving more times and more ways than you think. Moving is as simple as standing still. Standing still is never as easy as it sounds. They drive past a city reaching for one last thing to hold on to. The ghouls have arrived too late to help this place. Freeways have eaten out huge chunks of it and divided everything into a state of passing. Parking lots have consumed much of the rest. What will happen when all the cars die out? Right now, the occasional person you see trying to walk on the sidewalk seems superfluous to the vehicles around her. Not even traffic lights have the ultimate say on things. Cars roar by and destroy our capacity to be anything or anybody. The only light comes from spotty streetlights and dim headlights. All the light has gone out of people's eyes. Cracks in the streets mean new streets must be laid. Houses must be destroyed for new streets and new parking. Lives go away to make room for more cars. The city is an example of living versus moving. Moving pulls out ahead. Eyes of light, grins of chrome, squished faces that only know one emotion. Engineers make them laugh or sneer to cool the violence inside. Violence is inside, violence is outside. The sun burns the ground to a crisp. The black roads suck in all the heat and melt each snowflake trying to land on them. Tires burn into the road. Sounds come from one thing sliding against another. It makes you so mad. Anger becomes action. Nothing fits right on you, not even the expression on your face. Look deep down into the road and see a true reflection of yourself. Cars wait for keys to bring them to life in noise and smoke and smell. Sometimes they really smell. It's boiling, but where do the bubbles come from? Waiting is so hard. A road you know, a road you don't know, bodies and cars like the usual litter, smelling like spilled gasoline and rot. What would happen if cars were left by themselves to run the world? Would that ever be anything? Would it all be a waste? What would it be? Would they all stay in their lane? Would that be good or bad? Would the trucks be in charge, or the tanks? Who would be at the bottom of things? How much of a difference would size make? Whether the people are inside or out. Automobiles are a story unto themselves. They've come so far in such a short time. They have taken over everywhere. They break through the forests and the dunes and the mountains and bring civilization faster and wilder than the railroads ever could. They aren't bound by two rails. They suggest an absolute freedom. Freedom that could take the mind anywhere. They can go even where there are no roads. They can run over everything old and suggest a constant present. They seem like so much freedom, but they actually are so much dependence. When you gain a car, you lose a self. Cars keep driving to the furthest reaches, past where the roads peter out. The people stay inside them, enclosed in glass and steel. Eyes of night in full daylight, squeaks don't stop trucks. A car can drive, a car can give drive, a car can give you drive. That's why you never stop, that's why you never begin. Oh, to be able to move as fast around as the round wheels of an automobile, to be able to redistribute the pressure over so much of your surface, to be so completely out of control of your own destiny, to take the advice given you by the axle and trust unhesitatingly, to hurl yourself so freely into each new course, to be so round and oblivious and powerful, to be able to go so completely, to be like a wheel and to see what little it sees, to be in such close constant contact with the road, to, bit by bit, lose all your thread, to burn and to roll to a stop. Your journey gets longer the farther you go. The farther you go, the more there is to forget. To stop is to tolerate. To be still is to realize. To listen is to know. The driver of a car is oblivious to what his car does. The noise, the smell, the waste. The trees keep standing straight and remain in one place. Birds fly away to come back another time. The cars change looks every few years, but still look all the same. Make the same smell, noise, waste. For tonight, seeing is screaming. There is absolutely nothing to see whether you can or not. Driving is the worst thing possible. The roads disappear completely. The automobile around you disappears completely, but still knows what's on your mind. You are so surrounded you cannot be sure whether you are still on the surface of the earth or if you have somehow sunk inside it. You are so surrounded, yet there is nothing around you to see. Drivers don't pay attention to anything, not the wind, the road, the weather. All they know are their place names and schedules and routes and the way they make time into one circle after another, as if it were a wheel rolling to its destination. The people keep coming and they keep coming and getting it. Because they have no frame of reference beside the color black, drivers cannot tell if they are moving forward or falling down into an empty earth. What is there to anything except the empty space in between? The hugest buildings sink beneath the soil only to rise up again as soon as you turn your head around. The earth drowns and swims, rolling in itself and enjoying it. The roads are the only things that think they're there hard and fast, and they'll begin cracking in only a year or two. Tonight the world, clouded out of vision by the weather, takes revenge. It switches its oceans with solid ground. It switches its insides with its outer crust. It heaves and exhales, trying to break off all the roads that circle it like a strong man in a circus tries to break off the chain wrapped around his chest. It pulls the rug out from underneath everything and leaves all those things that depend so much on its hard crust to circle and spin helplessly. Cars can lose track of a road on a night like this. Roads lose their cars as well, and hope that they don't break into thousands of pieces and don't lose the places that they lead to. Cars spin helplessly in the snow and darkness while their tires keep pretending they're actually taking the vehicle somewhere. Shapes and figures dart in and out of the beam of the headlights which really go nowhere. You may as well be driving with your eyes closed or your mind asleep on a night like this. A man going down the road to a store ends up trapped deep inside the back of his worst nightmare. If you try too hard to drive tonight, you find out there is nothing else but yourself, and you discover how little that is. Drivers and passengers are thrown out of their cars all over, as if 1,000 flying zucchini brothers were exploding out of cannons all at once. Unlike the zucchini brothers, the drivers and passengers shooting out of their cars find there is no safety net to catch them, just a giant world beneath them cracking its knuckles. It is like living in one huge giant popcorn popper of absolute darkness. Everything is too startled to scream or cry. It all keeps happening and becomes the way of things tonight. When you were young, you rode a painted horse on springs up and down. Now try driving that way. Every different car looks just the same when it is flattened down like a pancake. Every car looks just the same after the mountains start playing ping pong with it, which they do. Even the most elegant car can be put in the scrap heap and look like a mess. Car doors crack off as easily as fried chicken bones. It's as simple as watching the tires all overinflate and blow up the bottom. The snow doesn't just swirl and fall down and grab up in the darkness and keeps it so quiet. It also grabs onto things. It grabs onto the roofs and windows of cars and squeezes tightly, radically changing the pressure inside and the amount of the outside that you can view. The snow whips the cars in with the wind and settles them in drifts too. The snow remains quiet and furry. If it could be loud and rude, what would it sound like? Tonight, all the hundreds, thousands of animals that would normally lose their lives from the horrible crunch of the front end of a car are safe and sound. They can run where they want and linger where they want and be safe because none of the cars that could pose threats are going anywhere. The deer and elk are safe, so are the skunks, rabbits, porcupines, and mice, so are the dogs and cats, so are the squirrels. The cold and snow, which are really protecting them, don't seem to bother them. Cars blow around in the wind. The power of the snow and the night take all the horrible weight and strength out of them and fling them into ever-growing piles. Steel rattles against steel. Headlights get one last moment of glory, shining with a clear intensity, but all for naught, for they shine on nothing. The moment they realize this, they go dim and dark orange and shine no more. Windshields crack, and the glass becomes thousands of crystals, all the same size. Instrument panels on dashboards go wild, but ultimately are able to say nothing about what's really happening to the vehicle they symbolize. Steering wheels can turn as much as they want, but they won't make any difference. People sprinkle out of all the tossed vehicles and stay put like the seasoning on your food. Oh, to be racing with time itself, to see the skin on every face sag and wrinkle and become completely unrecognizable, to be unable to recognize yourself through the glare of a windshield, to miss your exit because you haven't been reading the road signs, to forget how to read and think but keep driving. The roads are just as tight, whether they are covered by rain or covered by sun. The world is spinning beneath them and around them, and who is really doing the driving? The world moves closer to the sun, flames touch the tops of the clouds and can burn a color into young skin. The roads keep everything, hoarding like a miser, and all they give back is the chance to follow them because you wouldn't know how to get anywhere without them. Why are the roads the only ones that know how to get there? What have we lost if we leave it up to the roads rather than ourselves to find our way? How can we know if we've ever been cheated? If the road was wrong and some other way right, why are roads and streets trusted so much? I can't trust people for direction, but you can always trust roads. Go boom. So much steel, so many cars, so many lanes and so many roads waiting for so many more, so much empty land waiting to be converted into so many parking lots or so many roads. This is what all the cars look like when they are ended one by one. 1. A car explodes from within, holding the explosion in like somebody holding her breath to stop a hiccup too powerful for that. Its headlights jump out like eyes bugging out and dust flies from every seam. The windshield and all the windows crack into little pieces of glass the size of pebbles with only 2 sides. 5. What make of car is this? Who knows? What happens to it is that all 4 wheels shoot out straight from their axles. They shoot out fast, bullets big as tires, and the rest of the car clunks down and cracks in half. 6. The next car turns every color you could imagine when it explodes. For a while it is a fountain of light. While it explodes, it hisses like a snake and keeps hissing after it is gone. 7. A long black limousine coughs and breaks into 3 small black cars which all have problems going in the direction they should and end up crashing into each other. They burn forever, and the long black color of the former limousine ascends the sky as a long black cloud of bitter smoke. 8. With the proper music driving beside it, this car does a striptease on its own, dropping its metal sides off seductively and peeling off all its other parts until all that's left is the brown carpeting that used to be for passengers' feet lying lonely on some highway. 9. A white Chrysler jumps up and down like a kid bouncing on a bed. It cracks the road and the earth with its bouncing and crushes its way, bouncing down into the deep, fiery core of the earth, where it explodes and dies. 10. This small orange car hit the entry ramp too fast and shoots itself far up into the sky. When it reaches the upper atmosphere, it fizzles like a firefly and dissolves completely under pressure and flame. 11. This car is too loud for its own good. The sky itself presses down and makes it as flat as a crepe. 12. A brown Honda Civic turns immediately into a single puff of smoke, gray and heavy, that lays down as a layer of dust on the highway. 13. Like it or not, an entire used car lot full of cars lifts up off the ground. The blacktop does, taking all the cars upon it with it. When it has reached a good height, it suddenly flips upside down and crashes back to earth, pounding all the cars on it into the ground. 14. A tan Audi, nearing a good speed, caves in on itself, leaving nothing. 15. All the cars in the mall parking lot suddenly come unstuck, their parking brakes released, and roll all the way to the end of the world, whereupon they all roll off. 16. A black thunderbird catches fire and burns with an eternal flame. 17. Each parking meter along the block suddenly jumps out of the sidewalk and bashes the car beside it into pieces as if it were a sledgehammer wielded by an invisible giant. 18. All the weeds that Jackson Meatball could never take care of squeeze out of the cracks in the asphalt around this car and surround it, grabbing it all over and taking it with them, in one piece, through the cracks. 19. A semi-truck rolls over and over like a paper tube and squashes 20 cars before it rolls itself into oblivion. 20. 2 identical cars crash head-on. Instead of smoke and fire, the crash produces bubbles, which turn out to be just as deadly. 21. A man strikes a match on the side of his car and, instead of the match lighting, his car does, and burns down quickly to a black heap as his cigarette waits on his lip without a flame to ignite it. 22. 5 cars get lost in a thick fog and are never seen or heard from ever again. 24. The rain creeps into a blue Corvette. Overnight, it rusts completely. In the morning, when its owner gets in and slams the door shut, it crumbles all around him. 25. A family car with a family inside pops like a child's balloon, and the skin of it catches and lingers on a tree branch. 26. The loud music pouring out of this car's car stereo speakers stops being music and becomes the car itself blaring out until the car is nothing but more noise rising above the sound of a busy intersection. 27. One more car, for no special or apparent reason at all, explodes suddenly and lights up the horizon from one end to the other. 29. When this car explodes, a flag that says "boom" springs out at the top and the car falls to little pieces. 30. A Datsun receives a radio signal that's too powerful for its radio, and the whole car cooks like someone exterminated on the electric tear. 31. A cement mixer crashes into a Plymouth Fury and encases it in concrete while the mixer itself stalls at a railroad crossing and is decimated by a speeding diesel locomotive. 32. All the cars come out of the factory shining on the assembly line and fall into a mass grave. 33. This car makes so much smog that it kills anyone who tries to drive it. It ends up old and lonely, locked up in a garage somewhere until a meteorite falls on the garage and makes a huge crater, which fills with water and becomes a lake in the springtime. 34. Without any explanation, a Bronco turns into a planter in which no plants may grow. 35. A whole wall of a building comes detached just to cream all the cars parked along the street beside it. 36. You can hear and feel the explosion, loudness, a rocking, but you can't see what happened. Certainly, somewhere, another car blew up. 37. A blue station wagon rolls down a hill much too fast. Its back end flips over its front end and its rubble at the bottom of the hill ignites and burns brightly. 39. A car is parked next to a rich weeping boulevard tree. The boulevard tree explodes, taking the car with it. 40. An army of rats attacks a silver Rolls Royce and takes it apart piece by piece. All the rats scurry away, taking pieces of the rolls with them. 41. The first car spills some gasoline. The second car makes sparks that ignite it. The third car smashes them all together. All three explode at once. 42. The detour sign is a trick. All the cars drive straight off a steep cliff and crash on the plateau below. 43. The driver parks the car and leaves the lights on. The lights make the car overheat and soon it explodes. 44. A mechanic made a big mistake and the car he operated on only minutes ago goes out of control and swerves into a full school bus. Many tears are shed. 45. The front and back ends of a comfortable mid-70s sedan fly off in either direction but come back like boomerangs, smashing the middle of the car and sending the whole thing into tall flames. 46. The burning begins as a sensation on someone's skin, something that just suggests the pain of what is really going on, but before long it gets out of hand. Every gasoline tank it looks at screams in pain, then punches outward. The explosions shake even the coldest, most remote stars. 47. A young boy's whole collection of toy cars suddenly starts on fire. He tries to blow out all the little fires on his cars as if he were trying to blow out all the fires on a birthday cake, but he can't do it. 49. A movie star riding in her big limousine explodes. The explosion in her turns her limo into a big pink carnation in the middle of the highway. 49. Many other cars explode just as quickly, just as completely. Another day happens and then it goes away, never to come back. The rain falls and then it stops happening and we just lost our chance to have it help us clean up this mess. With each day, smiles become more difficult. With each day, we have further to go should we decide to turn around. With each day, the earth we've known so long gets a little weaker. Soon it may fall into a coma, if it hasn't done so already. With each day, there's much less of what there once was so much of. With each day, our memories get foggier. With each day, our easy chairs feel more comfortable. With each day, the latest gizmo seems to solve more problems. With each day, we invent better ways to end everything instantly. With each day, there is more to debate about besides what really counts. With each day, there are more numbers that must be calculated. With each day, there is more information that must be hurdled over. With each day, our legs get shorter or longer but accomplish less and less. With each day, there are more songs to listen to and fewer to sing. With each day, the original knowledge gets more and more muffled. With each day, there is less that can be saved. With each day, there is more and more to get pointless about. With each day, there is taller, wider, and just plain bigger. With each day, there are so many more values and really good buys. With each day, there are so many more good reasons to go into debt. With each day, there are more and more reasons to move to the suburbs. With each day, there are so many more bright flashes and brilliant lights to make us dizzy. With each day, there comes 100 new excitements, all much more thrilling than any of yesterday's. With each day comes something better to wear on your body or wear on your brain. With each day comes so many more things to see and do. With each day comes so many new things to be other than yourself. With each day comes so many other days, all equally promising. With each day comes a thicker muck, everlasting, dies out forever. With each day, the extent of our damage gets wider. With each day, our mistakes become more permanent. With each day, the creaks come louder. With each day, we come closer to something. To what? With each day comes that very day, and once again, we have lucked out. With each day, there are so many chances to consider, to estimate. With each day, our chances get worse.